All right, I think we can get going. My name is Lydia Mann. I'm the Director of Admissions Outreach here at Clark. I'm going to have my co-panelists introduce themselves for tonight. We're talking about you're in, what's next? So you're into Clark, and what do you do with that? So we are excited to present to you, but also answer lots and lots of your questions at the end of this webinar. So Danielle, could I start with you?
Hi, everybody. So excited you're joining us. I'm Danielle Morgan Acosta. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I serve as the Associate Dean of Students for Student Engagement, which means planning all of the things that kind of happen outside of the classroom as part of your undergraduate experience at Clark.
Evan, would you like to go?
Certainly, thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Evan Wilson. I use he, him pronouns. I'm currently serving as the Director of First Year Experience. And in my role, I am serving as a support system within the academic affairs side of Clark to help first year students get transitioned and situated on campus. And in that role, I oversee the Navigator program, which I'll tell you all a bit more about tonight.
Thank you. And Jen?
Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Jen Plan. I'm the Associate Dean of Academic Services. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm excited to talk to you all tonight.
And last but not least, Alexis.
Hi everyone, my name is Alexis. I am a student at Clark. I'm currently a junior. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I major in international development, and hopefully I'll be able to give some fun advice at the end of this.
Well, thank you all. I want to just officially say congratulations to the Clark class of 2025. This is the first time that we have official Clarkies here together in this virtual format for the class of 2025, and I am so excited that you've decided to join us tonight, that you threw your application in at Clark. We loved getting to know you through what we read, and we really look forward to getting to know you throughout the spring. We were really honored to read applications from Eagle Scouts, GSA club founders, people who are waiters and hostesses at restaurants. No matter what you did though, you all showed an extreme intellectual curiosity and a desire to make the world around you better. And for that, thank you. And we really would be excited to see you at Clark next fall. With that, we will get started. All right, so just so you're aware too, we're going to answer all of your questions at the end, and here at Clark we use the Q&A feature. So if you want to submit any questions as we're speaking, please go ahead, but you're just going to want to put those in the Q&A. That's what we're going to be monitoring, not the chat, just so you're aware. So the first part of this is sort of my problem to solve, right? Clark has chosen you now, so what do you do next? And my recommendations for you, if you are not an early decision candidate who you know you're going to be at Clark, perhaps you were an early action candidate and right now you just know you're going to be at Clark, that's awesome. The process is done. You can feel really good about it. Take a deep breath, and we're excited to see you in the fall. For those of you who are still weighing some options and choosing what's best, I really do recommend exploring our virtual programming all spring. You can go to the Admitted website, and we'll be putting new things up there regularly that you can join. You can join our regular programming if you just want an info session. And if you want to talk to a faculty member, a staff member, a student who's interested in what you're interested in, just send us an email. We want to connect you virtually, especially this year. For those of you who are able to visit campus, and that is following all health regulations, state guidelines, everything like that, right now we are offering self-guided tours of the outside of campus only. You are welcome to sign up for those on our website. We encourage you to do so. If we are able to offer guided tours, or if you are able to enter buildings later in the spring, you will be the first group of students that we will let know. We would really like to see you on campus. But again, just please follow all of the health safety guidelines. Clark has done a really phenomenal job of opening and having successful in-person classes, a really well thought out testing regimen on campus. And so we're just trying to follow the same good advice that we followed last fall for ourselves to stay open through the spring. Once you've explored, if Clark is your next home, your college home, it's time to deposit. And you can just go to the admitted student site and pay the deposit that way. So now we're going to move into what happens once you're officially a Clarkie, once you've paid that deposit and you know you're coming to Clark. And for me, I always think it's really important to start with the academics. Hopefully that you're coming to college for a lot of different reasons, but the primary one is probably what you want to learn and who you want to learn alongside. So Jen, would you talk to us a little bit about that first year experience academically, the first year advising that takes place, and the FYI, the first year intensive course that all students sign up for?
Sure, and I just want to back up a little bit and talk about the summer. Should you choose to come to Clark, at some point early in the summer, usually late May, early June, you will receive an email from someone called your summer academic advisor. Your summer advisor is going to be either a faculty person or a staff person, but regardless of who this person is, they are well trained on all aspects of how to work with you and help you choose your courses and answer your questions. So these are folks who know the academic curriculum and basically know they're generalists. They'll know general questions general answers rather to all your questions. And if they can't answer one of your questions, they certainly can point you into the direction of the person who can. During your meeting with your summer advisor, you're going to meet via Zoom or Skype or on the telephone. You will talk about courses for the fall semester. This person will help you actually register for courses. One of the courses you're going to register for is called the First Year Intensive, or the FYI. This is a class that's smaller in size than most Clark classes. So we typically look at enrollment numbers of 16 to 18 students typically for first year intensives. And the other students in the class with you are all first year students. This too is a little bit different from other classes where you may be in a class, even if it's an introduction to sociology class, there may be some sophomores and juniors in that class. The FYI is all first year students. Because the enrollment number of the FYI is smaller, you really get to know the other students in your class, and you create really a nice learning community. And also you really get to know the professor who teaches that FYI. This is a person who will help you not only understand the course content, but also help you transition to Clark. They will go over things like, support systems at Clark. They will talk about academic policies at times, answer any of your questions about academics. So you're going to really, really get to know this faculty person. This faculty person in your FYI becomes your pre-major academic advisor. Okay, so we transition from the person who helps you in the summer, your summer advisor, to your FYI professor, who is your advisor until your academic advisor until you declare a major. Okay. FYI courses, just a quick plug for them. There's some really, really interesting courses. So some FYI courses, for example, Human Rights and Literature is an FYI that's offered often. The Witch Craze from the history department is offered quite often. This semester, or fall semester, I should say, the political science department offered an FYI called Comic Books and Politics. For years and years, I taught a FYI called Queer Horror. So these are really kind of interesting content classes, but again, the professor is also going to help you and ensure that your transition to Clark and to college is a smooth one. Okay. You're going to start receiving information about courses in general, including the FYI, early in the summer. So again, sometime in May or June. Okay. So the thing I want to leave you with, and I think this is the most important thing, is you're going to have tons of support people when you're a student at Clark. And among those folks within your first year, you're going to have a summer advisor and your FYI advisor. You'll also have peer advisors, and Evan will talk more about that.
Thank you, Jen. We're now going to move into the FYE, the first year experience, which I think really complements the FYI as we're talking about faculty mentorship and what it's like to be in small classes. So Evan, do you want to talk to us a little bit about how new students are supported in their transition to Clark through this program and what the first year experience would look like for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first year experience is a term, you know, as folks are searching around colleges and universities, you may see it. So it's not something that Clark has, you know, invented, but it's both, you know, a recognition that students coming to a college campus, coming to, you know, a higher ed institution, it's a big transition. And orientation alone isn't enough orientation. You know, there's so much going on at college, right? It's the intersections of academics, of personal growth. You're expanding your social network. You know, ideally, you're taking what you're learning in the classroom and combining it in a professional sense, right? So all this takes a lot to get into and figure out where's your place and where's your interest. And, you know, one thing at Clark that is so powerful is the power of Clarkies. So, you know, a core feature of the first year experience program are peer mentors on campus. So, you know, like I was saying, first year experience, it's recognition that there's a lot to adjust to. And so what Clark has developed, and it was really timely in terms of, you know, COVID and needing to go, you know, partially remote and, you know, deal with so many transitions. This was the first year that Clark launched the Clark Navigator, which has turned the first year experience into a credited class. So it's a 1-credit class that all first year students take, and it's led by a peer mentor. So it's an opportunity to get introduced to the university through the eyes of an upper class student. So every week you'll come together with a group of fellow Clarkies that you meet during orientation, and you stay connected with them through the entire semester. And each week it's opportunities to connect in a social way, but also to learn about kind of a critical skill, resource area, you know, talk more about your interests to, again, you know, really better find your place as a student and as a community member at Clark. Let's see. And so really, you know, there's not much to do before you arrive in order to get plugged in. The Navigator will run at different times throughout the week so that, you know, it ends up being an extra class, but you know, really the homework is to show up to the Navigator. You're showing up to your little community, and then, you know, throughout the semester, just like monitor and keep note of what you're doing on campus. So, you know, as part of the program, we're encouraging and incentivizing students to go out and go to an event in their hall. You know, in a non-COVID world, it might be like doing intramural sports. But I can also say that the Outing Club was operating in-person events, you know, at the nearby Arboretum. There was walking tours of campus, you know, to get exercise. There was yoga classes outside. There were pop-ups on the green of students doing entrepreneurial, you know, selling from small businesses. So just a taste of all the, you know, events that we want students to go out and attend, in addition to, you know, lectures, workshops, meeting with your faculty. So that's kind of the breadth of it. It's, you know, building community with first years, navigating the whole parts of campus with the support and leadership of a peer mentor. And it's kind of a mini taste of, you know, navigating an academic life at Clark, because it is also accredited class as well.
Thank you. So orientation has been mentioned a couple of times now, and we know a little bit about what to expect in that first semester, that first year, but Danielle, could you talk to us about that really short period of transition, including orientation, and then questions that all students have around things like housing and roommate selection?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to spend all summer communicating with you about how you can be successful and bring yourself to Clark and feel ready and prepared, because college is so different than what high school has been, and your experience at Clark is going to be so different than what the past year or two has been just in regards to everything that's been going on. And so you'll see the Clark Welcome website will be launched in May, and that will have tons of information for you about all the details of things you need to do and extra information that you have, and you can explore all the ways to find out more about the residence halls and sign up to live on campus. We have 3 residence halls that are dedicated to our first-year students, Wright Hall, Bullock Hall, and Dana Hall. Co-spaces to live in. Most of those rooms are doubles. There's also an opportunity for our female identifying students to live in Dodd Hall. And we know a majority of our students will live on campus, and we'll be communicating with you about orientation and move-in, because you really get to run the school and run campus for a few days before everybody else gets back to kind of get yourself situated. Move in, figure out where your mailbox is, and orientation is set up to make sure that you are ready to start classes, that you have a community, that you feel connected, that you know where things are, and that you've spent a few days bonding not only with your peers and folks doing the exact same thing as you have, but as Evan talked about, with your peer mentor. So an upper class student that comes back to campus early before classes, just to make sure that you are getting connected, that you know what's going on, and that starts to introduce you to all of the resources that we have at Clark to make sure that you're successful. And those will be reiterated through your Navigator coursework, and they'll be you'll see them more as you get involved with clubs and organizations across campus. But really, there'll be a few extra days where you can come back and get everything situated, where you can meet new people, learn more about Worcester, have some fun on the green, which is that beautiful space that's Lydia's background that you can see there. That's where everything happens at Clark. That's super fun and exciting. And really get to know all of those different things, set up your room and meet your roommate. And so applications for getting your housing underway will happen in the summer. We'll be able to connect you to other students and to kind of get some of those things situated. And for some of our students that might be here, we also have some pre-orientation programs for our first generation students and our students of color that come back even a few weeks before that to build some connections and community. And so information about that will be out, like I said, in May, kind of when that website launches. But I think the most important thing about the transition is we know it's a big deal, and we spend all summer preparing for you. We want you to come and be successful, find yourself, and everything about Clark is figuring out who you want to be and how you want to change the world. And so we're just making sure that you have the space to be able to do that effectively and to hit the ground running.
Thank you. And now I'm going to ask Alexis to speak a little bit about what the transition was like for you. Alexis, you came all the way from California, so a little bit about what the move was like, and then also any pro tips that you have as somebody who's gone through this process. What should students be considering as they look to make their college choice?
Definitely 2 great questions. As many of you may have seen earlier, I was writing stuff on my hand about the transition from high school to college, because it's been so long now. I've been at Clark for 3 years, and it really seems like so natural that I'm there, right? And it seems so home-like to me. I slipped up and called it home in front of my mom the other day, and she almost cried. But that's neither here nor there. So I think something that's really important about the transition from high school to college is understanding that you are going to have way more time on your hands academically. That's a really important thing to realize. You're going to be taking 4 classes at once instead of like 5 or 6 or 7 or however many you took. All of the electives that you can get involved in, right, are really clubs. They're social opportunities. Age doesn't matter, I feel like, as much in college, right? I have friends that are seniors. I have friends that are freshmen. So it really feels like one big family. I think the transition is really fun in that way. So those are some things to like look forward to. It can also be difficult because, you know, you're leaving home for the first time. But something that's really interesting, especially that I figured out was, you know, I was coming from 3,000 miles away from Los Angeles. The girl right across the hall from me, who is now one of my best friends, was coming from 30 miles away, and she felt just as homesick as I did, right? So there's a lot of common traits in that homesickness, or in that, you know, enjoyment of a new environment and throwing yourself into this newfound independence, knowing you have all of these nets to catch you, which are really everything that Danielle, Evan, and Jen were talking about. which is really nice. You always have support systems that are ready. I could go on and on about, my experience as a peer advisor during orientation, my experience as a peer academic mentor during the pilot FYE programs, and even how much I still love and keep in contact with my first advisor from my FYI. So there's a lot of stuff that I can speak to. I think that the emphasis is really always on personal relationships, even in academics. And then pro tips for a high school senior getting ready to make their choice. It's scary. It's really frightening. But I think that what I usually give, the advice I give at the end of my tours is, college is 50% what the college offers, what you're looking for, et cetera, like the expectations you have. And then the other 50% is how you react and the choice to engage and the choice to go after what's out there and what's actually at the university. So that's, I think, the most essential thing to remember. And then also a pro tip just of mine is for people like me who are really interested in a lot of different things, go to a school or figure out where you can go where you get to combine your passions and where you get to study what you're passionate about and still see a really clear way forward or see potential in your future that's full of things you're passionate about. And those are my 2 pro tips getting ready to make your college choice. Also, prestige is scary and overrated, and I did not know that until I went through this process, and it can totally screw with your mind, but you'll end up at the right place, and 50% is how you react to where you go.
So I used to be a college counselor at a boarding school before coming to Pomfret, and Alexis gave you the advice that we would give to those boarding school students. So she's ready for her first job. Anybody out there is hiring. All right. So now we are going to move into the Q&A portion of this session. So like I said before, here at Clark, we really do use the Q&A feature. If you've dropped a question into the chat, I'm not going to see it. I apologize, but please, anything that you want to ask, we probably won't be able to get to all of the questions this evening, but we will try to follow up with those that we cannot answer in an email if we are able to match your question to your email address. So first question, I think this one might be for you, Jen, but it's a question about students who don't come in undecided. They actually come in pretty sure about what they want to major in, and whether or not the FYI professor is their first year advisor or if it's somebody in that chosen major.
Yeah, that's a great question. So sometimes students will have the question of, well, I think I want to major in physics, so shouldn't I take Introduction to Physics as my FYI? If you want, sure. But if you know you're going to major in physics, you don't necessarily have to take a physics FYI. You can take something completely different. Your FYI advisor, faculty person rather, will be your academic advisor. But that said, you do have the ability to switch to someone else after your first semester. And Clark, the benefit of Clark is it's really small, and we all work together and like each other. So we talk. So chances are your FYI professor, who's your academic advisor, will touch base with someone in physics. And oftentimes what can happen is a really collaborative kind of advising experience for you until you declare your major. So I hope I answered that question.
Can I just put in, that's exactly what happened to me. So great job, Jen.
This is a quick question that I'm happy to answer. The deadline for choosing Clark and paying that deposit is May 1st. So as long as you were an early action student. Early decision students, we really hope you're going to follow through on that commitment. But early action students, you have until May 1st. And like I said, if you need to talk to any of us to figure anything out about Clark, the process, you have questions about financial aid, please don't hesitate to email either your regional counselor that you can look up online or admissions@clarku.edu. Next question, I think this would be a good one for Danielle and maybe Alexis, your perspective from your experience, but the roommate matching process, how does that work at Clark?
So when that form goes live, you'll be asked just a few questions about kind of some of your living habits and what you think that might make sense. And we will match you with a roommate in one of those spaces. If you know somebody that you want to live with and you're sure of it, and still, my advice would be to live with someone random. You can kind of request, and your other roommate also needs to request you. I think what's really important to know about that experience is because all of our first year students live in our first year residence halls. Those are community style spaces. So you're not only really with your roommate. The door is open, there's a long hallway, you get to interact with lots of people all of the time. There is an opportunity after 2 weeks to kind of do a roommate change. But oftentimes what we find is you get those experiences that you meet somebody who's completely different than you, or there's the person down the hall, or your roommate becomes your best friend, or the person down the hall becomes your best friend. So we will match all of those things over the summer. You'll get many emails and reminders to kind of submit all of your information, and then you'll find out where you're living, and you can communicate with your roommate ahead of time about who's bringing what and what materials that you might want to kind of pack to kind of divvy up the spaces. But Alexis, what was your experience like?
Yeah, my experience just with living in general has been actually great. I'm pretty messy, which, you know, I think my bookcase is like the only part of my room that's not just absolutely a pigsty, which is unfortunate, especially when you're looking for a roommate. But I filled out the random request. I was kind of wary of the people on Facebook, on the Facebook group chat. I was like, I don't know, I would probably lie, so I don't trust this. And I ended up getting matched with someone by filling out this survey who had pretty similar habits to me and was really messy too. And the great part about that is that, first of all, I felt at home. And second of all, I actually learned how to be cleaner because we were both kind of going through this learning process together, which was great because I loved my first roommate. They were fantastic and they still are, but I changed roommates and I started living with a group of girls the next year in a suite that I totally loved, but they were a lot neater than me. And I had kind of learned via this first year experience what the difference was. And it was cool. I got matched with someone who, you know, wasn't my best friend forever, but we hung out a lot during orientation. We both met new people together. And my room always felt like home, you know, and it didn't always feel like, oh, that's my best friend, but it always felt like I'm going back to my room. I can decompress in my room. My room is my space, which is really cool, especially when you share it with another person for the first time.
Thank you. So it is our great hope that this vaccine works well and that life will return to a better version of normal sometime in the near future. But we do have quite a few questions about this past fall and this spring when life is a little bit different. And so I'm thinking that, Evan, maybe you could answer this from the perspective of the FYE and Danielle from student activities. But what are some activities that still took place that students could opt into?
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, first thing is that, you know, what's been, I think, a really great response or like approach that Clark has taken is it's been a flexible approach and understanding that like faculty and students are going to have unique needs. So both for the fall and for the spring, it's a little more than half our classes are in-person or hybrid or have an in-person component, and then, you know, a little less than half were remote. And so, you know, students, including the navigator, you know, went to class and, you know, classrooms were spaced out. There was guidelines to wear masks. You know, there was cleaning supplies. And so all that was, you know, totally different, right? And totally unknown. But you know what? It worked. I even went in, you know, a few of the navigator sections when I popped in, and yeah, it was different wearing a mask and wiping down the desks, but it was also really, like, it was important to come together. You know, but that wasn't the choice for everyone, right? But so, you know, that's kind of how classes went, the flexible choices, and with all these, you know, really useful precautions. You know, I'll let Danielle talk a little bit more about activities, but, you know, there was a lot, for better or for worse, on Zoom. And I'd say the better is that you could be in China, California, Connecticut, or Worcester and engage in these events. I really enjoy tuning in to events hosted by an emeritus professor, Cynthia Enloe, a well-known political scientist, feminist, scholar. And so it was just a treat to be able to take part in those lectures. So yeah, it was a hybrid for sure at Clark.
I'm sure many of you know, because you've applied to Clark, that we have a vibrant student body and we have tons of things going on all of the time. We have over 130 student clubs, and those clubs are really doing amazing events, and they were not going to let COVID stop them. And so we did have a lot of events on Zoom. We have Clark Engage, which is an online platform where all of our clubs and offices and departments post their upcoming activities. You can say that you're going, you can find the link directly. In our hybrid format in the fall, we had a lot of in-person events. The Outing Club continued to go on hikes. They would create different ways to get there and host people. Some of our theater organizations and groups did plays outside. They did video Zoom activities. They did one, I want to say Hamlet, I think, at the park. Thank you for the correction, Alexis.
We did Macbeth.
Macbeth, thank you.
It was in the Arboretum and it was freaky.
It was dark and storm. It was fantastic. Our dance teams continued to practice either in the parking lots, under the garages, or in some of our spaces. And so there was, all of our cultural organizations continued to have activities. We really utilized outside and that green space. I wasn't kidding. We got fire pits out there. We had food trucks. We did some great activities. Student council and our student clubs practiced and put on for Halloween and some Halloween weekend activities. So there was a lot of things that continued to happen. And we have some great clubs that continue to put on events, whether you logged into them or you engaged with groups on social media. And so many of you might have already seen that. All of our departments are on Instagram, our students are on Instagram. And so we learned a lot in the fall semester, but we were doing some really cool things. And so it was great to see that. I think there's even more energy. Right now we're in a special winter session. And so we have about half of our students taking online classes, and all of that is virtual. And we have virtual wellness activities, fitness challenges, different kind of clubs are meeting regularly. We have trivia nights happening. And so there's still a ton of ways to connect, and everyone's in the same boat. So everyone is trying to connect and make friends, and we are figuring out all the different ways to do that.
Thank you. Somebody's asking about one of the reasons I chose to come to Clark to work, which is the problems of practice courses. So between Jen and Alexis, can you define the problems of practice courses and maybe give us some examples of what you could do?
Sure, I can start off with that. So I've technically taken 2 problems of practice courses at Clark. It was by accident that I took 2, but the idea behind problems of practice courses, and I'm sure Jen will say this much more eloquently in a moment, is that problems of practice courses are really about getting out in the community, getting outside of the traditional idea of classroom learning, and getting your hands dirty, whether that be literally and, doing dirt samples in a forest ecology class, or going to City Hall and doing something there. My problems of practice course this semester was really different because, of course, we were in a pandemic. But I took an international negotiation and mediation class, where in the final bits of the year, we actually did a mediation role play, where we would have to role play as different countries, where we would actually be having to learn in a different way. We were having to take on serious issues like COVID. Unfortunately, we had to focus on that a little bit more, but it was really a fascinating work process. Another example is in one of my entrepreneurship classes, The Art of the Pitch. Our teacher actually was a local business owner from Worcester who had people, different entrepreneurs, come in, and it was kind of a reverse. It was, instead of going out to the city of Worcester, Worcester was coming to us. We were talking about business pitches that we had, and people were kind of giving us all of these constructive criticisms. Real entrepreneurs that have had to pitch and have had to kind of just try and figure out different things in the real world. And that's one of my favorite parts about the problems of practice courses, is that they can look so different, but they're really designed to go, hey, okay, this traditional classroom space, let's push beyond that, but in a way that can work academically, in a way that can function within the class.
That was brilliant. The only thing I have to add is the other benefit is, again, that relationship with the professor, right? You're working elbow to elbow with the professor who, you know, if you are doing some kind of research and you get tripped up, you know, you've got your fellow, you know, you've got your peers to help you, but you've also got that professor and or, you know, guests who come into the class and can mentor you through those issues.
Thank you both. Somebody's asking about career placement services and internship services and whether or not we have those. The short answer is yes, we definitely do. Alexis, I think you have utilized some of these services before. Do you want to talk a little bit about what your experience was like?
Sure. So we have career placement services, we have internship services, we have programs to help you find what kind of internship you should be involved in. We have faculty that have a lot of connections outside within their chosen fields that can help you out. Actually, a lot of, you know, my current prospective internships and research opportunities are from my advisor, who I got through my FYI advisor. So there's a little connection to the past. But I think my favorite bit of that program and of that office thus far has been working with the scholarships and awards committee, because I did an internship that, you know, my resume that I submitted to them was checked by the career services, everything like that. So they helped me there first. But I did an internship this summer online with Lawyers Without Borders. And I got a scholarship to do that. I was originally supposed to go to Washington. I didn't end up doing that. But part of the scholarship was reflections and was creating kind of these memories in these reflective periods and in these little meetings that we would have via Zoom about networking, check-ins about how our internships were going. And that was all within that umbrella of kind of the career services and the LEAP advisory, just all of the offices within the building, ASEC, which I don't remember all of the offices right now because I haven't given a tour in like 4 months. But anyway, and I got to really figure out real world applications for what the heck does networking mean and why should I be doing it? Why should I have a LinkedIn profile? What did I actually learn from doing all of this different work online? And because of the online nature of my internship, it was even more necessary to be able to have that method and have Michelle Flint, who is absolutely fantastic and works for, you know, for the Career Services Department, kind of guiding us all through it and saying, hey, let's check in. Checking in right now especially is important. How do you think you could be learning more from this? What do you think you can be getting out of it? So at a time when I didn't know Clark was going to be involved in my internship, they were, and my learning experience was way better for it.
Thank you. We have an athlete asking about how involved coaches get with the academic experience, whether or not they know grades, professors. I will take this one to start. Your coach will be involved in your academic life at Clark. As a Division III school, your student comes first, and our coaches know that. So they want you to be the best possible team. They want you to improve your skills, win games, all of that. But they also want you to win in the classroom and be successful there. So you can be pretty sure that your coach is going to be helping you figure out what your schedule looks like, making sure that your grade point average is solid. It won't be athletics first. Our sports teams also do some really neat volunteering in the community. And if anybody else wants to take that, feel free. Otherwise, I can keep going. I will keep going. Okay. So all of our varsity teams volunteer somehow, some way in the city of Worcester. So the swim team might teach young people in the neighborhood how to swim lessons. The basketball team, I think it's called B2B, it's Books Before Basketball. They actually work with younger students. They read books, and then when they're done with that, they get to play a basketball game together. So there's a real effort to be a part of the neighborhood in which we live as an athlete. This question should definitely go to Alexis, but maybe to Evan or Danielle too, but an experience, and Jen, you could answer too, an experience that a first year should not miss out on at Clark.
That's a really good question and a really hard question because there are so many different things. As a nerd, I like a total just like a person who loves classes at Clark, take a 200 level course your first year. They're like supposed to be like a little bit harder and you'll meet more upperclassmen and you'll be academically challenged in a different way, which is super cool. But actually, you know, if you're talking about fun stuff or things that other people might say are really fun that I think are fun too, don't go to Gala. Go to International Gala, which is this really cool dance performance by just hundreds of Clark students. It's streamed by, you know, Clark parents internationally. There is a line around the campus to get in to see how our gym is totally transformed into like Madison Square Garden. I remember my freshman year, I almost didn't go. I was like, why are these people lined up? What is this? And so I got in line, and then by the end, there's like a flag ceremony where everyone comes out waving their flags, and I was like sobbing. I was in tears. I was like, I love unity. Oh my God. And the people next to me were like, you weren't going to come to this. And I was like, I know. I've been proven wrong. So take a 200 level course, go to Gala. There are 1,000 other things and different questions, but. Oh, I'm done.
Anybody else, and not to miss classroom or outside of the classroom opportunity?
I think it's a great question, and I think it's also so unique, you know, and so I think it's like, I mean, I really liked Alexis's advice earlier about, you know, it's also about like what you put into it too. So I think it's about like, you need to go out and make sure that you do you. So if that's like joining the, you know, like the radio station, or in, you know, going and doing the ballroom dance or doing outing club, like don't miss one of those things. But that's going to be different for each of you. But so, yeah, you know, luckily there's your first year, you know, is 2 semesters, you know, so even if your first semester, you know, like it didn't leave your room as much, or, you know, it sets you up to set goals, you know, for the spring, or like, you know, first semester, allow yourself to adjust. Some of it is also into yourself and your personal adjustment and like speaking up for what you need. So, you know, I think it's about like understanding that you're all in it together, but we're all unique. So you do you. And yeah, I mean, there's so many things to be done, but I think it's just about like jumping in, finding community and connecting with your passion.
Thank you. There are a few questions about the 5th year program, so I just want to make sure that everybody on this webinar knows what it is. So Clark is one of 2 schools in the entire country that I know of that offer this program. Alexis is very excited about it. And basically what it is that you are, by coming to Clark as an undergraduate student, you are eligible to earn your master's degree in 1 year, totally tuition free at the end of your undergraduate experience. So you go through your first year, your second year, just as normal. As a junior, you're going to apply to one of the master's programs that you like, and you can look up the accelerated master's program on our website to figure out which master's programs are eligible. If you are accepted into the program, as a senior, you're going to take a handful of master's level courses. You're going to graduate with your class. Your family and friends can still see you, walk the stage, go through all the pomp and circumstance that is so important and so much fun. But then we're going to ask you to stay for 1 consecutive year, and you're going to earn your master's degree, and it's going to be totally tuition free. It's a really unique program, and I will admit, the first time I heard about it before I was working at Clark, I thought that is a wonderful ploy because 2 people can do it, and they say they have it, and that's it. I'm shocked by how honorable and good at educating Clark is. 1 in 3 students gets their master's degree for free. So it's really whoever can opt in and meet the eligibility requirements. The GPAs are usually, depending on the program, about a 3.4. But it really is available to all Clarkies. So as you're coming in your first year and you're meeting with your summer advisor, like Jen talked about, and you're getting to know your FYI advisor, if you're interested in this program, you might want to mention it just because they can help you start to think about the steps that you'll need to take over the course of your first couple of years. All right, so with that, we are running short on time. So I'm just going to ask us to close it out if we could go through the panelists and just say one of your favorite things about Clark, one of the reasons that you enjoy working here, going to school here, if you're an alum, what brought you here, that would be wonderful. So we'll go in the order we went. So Jen, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. So I am an alum. I received my master's degree at in the English department. And I've been working at Clark for 21 years, and I love our students. They keep me on my toes. They educate me. They are some of the most brilliant, engaged citizens of the world that I've ever met. And I also adore my coworkers.
Danielle? Or Evan, sorry, I messed that up.
I was going to say, I too am a Clark alum. You'll be seeing a trend with the panelists. I earned my bachelor's in international development, my master's in community development and planning here at Clark. So, I mean, you know, Clark is a place that community is strong. You know, something that I'll share though, in addition to community is, you know, what I loved about Clark as a student and what I, you know, still really love and admire is, you know, the opportunity for hands-on learning, for engaged learning. You know, Jen said again and again, the opportunity to get to work closely with a faculty member. And that's what's so cool about Clark. It's a liberal arts research university. So you have opportunity to connect with faculty on huge cutting edge issues. And so I worked with a faculty as an undergrad and grad doing research projects in Worcester. You know, I got a scholarship to help with study abroad. You know, so getting engaged in your learning outside the classroom, doing things like studying abroad, taking what you're learning and applying it. Clark is so ripe for that. And, you know, again, if you show up and you bring your interest and your passion, rest assured that there's programs and opportunities where you can, you know, engage.
Yeah, so I am also a two-time Clark alum. I was a history major and a Law and Society concentration, and I got my 5th year in education, teaching high school. And I just came back to work at Clark a few months ago. And so I, like Alexis, came to Clark from California. I was a first-gen student. And I think that everything that people have said, but also Clark's commitment to changing the world and letting students come here, figure out who they are, who they want to be, and how they want to change the world is really why I'm back and why I'm so proud of my undergraduate and graduate experience at Clark. You can do research, you can make an organization that changes things. Our students are constantly changing our campus for the better everywhere. I think Worcester is a great college town. You're close to fun things to do, but also in a space at an institution that is committed to making things better every day. And so in terms of experiences, there's so many different activities you can go to, and some of the traditions that we have at Clark have been the same for the past 20 years. They're that important and exciting to the student body. And so Clark for me was I was scared to make the choice to move across the country, and there was just something that called me to Clark time and time again. So when I paid that deposit on the very last day, I'm sure the admissions office didn't know what was going on with me because I was all over the place. But if you're looking for a campus that wants you to be you and wants you to be able to explore that and to create something new, I think you'll find that at Clark, and you'll find a place where you can really make an impact and a community of people that you really like.
I want to echo everything all of these other Clark alum have said, because I can talk for hours about, you know, wonderful moments I've had at office hours with professors. I can talk about cool opportunities. I can talk about the fact that whenever I go to the dining hall, I know someone. Whenever I'm walking to class, someone waves. Like, those are all essential parts, I think, of going to Clark. But something that I want to emphasize too is, while Danielle is talking about this amazing moment of like knowing she wanted to go to Clark, I didn't have that until I got to Clark. So I think that it's also essential. I forgot to point this out on my section of the little slides, that, you know, you don't have to have that gut, oh my God, feeling, because I feel like it's romanticized a lot in college admissions, and people around you will be like, I just knew. you don't have to just know, right? That goes back to you make the decision to fit in somewhere and to do well somewhere and to take opportunities. But given all that, I would say there are a lot of questions we didn't get to answer. There's a really cool app called Zemi where there are a lot of student ambassadors like myself doing videos about what it's like to be at Clark. And there is also an email, admissions@clarku.edu, where you can send extra questions and get them answered. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. When we planned this panel, I did not know that all of you were alumni. So that just goes to show it's a good place to return to. Thank you all for spending your evening with us. You at home, also the panelists, I appreciate it. This is a big choice. We really were impressed by your application, so we do hope you'll choose Clark selfishly, but we also want to give you the best advice and all the information that you need to make this decision. So Alexis just told you to email us, call us. We're answering phones. If you'd rather get on Zemi, whatever mode works for you is the way that we want to reach you. So have a great evening. Take care, stay healthy, and have a good night.